You know what's wild? The best tactical depth, the smartest combat systems, and some of the most satisfying progression on PS5 all happen to be in isometric games. Coincidence? No. Today I've got 18 games that prove looking down at your character doesn't mean dumbed down gameplay. Let's get into it. Listen, Baldur's Gate 3 is basically the best video game version of Dungeons & Dragons you can play, and that's not even close. You create your character, pick your class, maybe you're a wizard who throws fireballs or a sneaky rogue who steals everything, and then you get dropped into this massive adventure where every choice actually matters. And I mean every choice. Talk to a squirrel? Sure. Convince a goblin you're his boss? Why not? Kiss a vampire? Hey, your funeral. What makes this special is that the game remembers everything you do. Save a kid in the first hour? They might show up 10 hours later to help you. Be a jerk to your companions? They'll leave your party and you'll face the consequences. Most games pretend your choices matter. Baldur's Gate 3 actually backs it up. The combat is turn-based, so you have time to think about your moves instead of button mashing. You position your team, use the environment, and actually feel smart when you win. Yeah, it's complex. Yeah, it takes over 100 hours to finish. But here's the thing, this is how RPGs should be made. No microtransactions, no battle pass garbage, no half-finished mess. Just a complete, polished game that respects your time and intelligence. Larian Studios made everyone else look lazy with this one. Before Baldur's Gate 3 made everyone lose their minds, Larian Studios made Divinity: Original Sin 2. And honestly, some people think this one's even better. You start as a prisoner with magical powers that everyone fears, and you have to escape, survive, and eventually save the world. Standard video game stuff, except nothing here is standard. The combat system is wild. See that oil barrel? Light it on fire? Standing in water? Don't cast lightning unless you want to electrocute yourself. Rain putting out your flames? Cast a tornado to blow everyone off a cliff instead. The game gives you tools and says, figure it out. And that's refreshing when most games hold your hand like you're 5 years old. You can play solo or with up to 3 friends in co-op, and here's where it gets interesting. You can literally argue with your party members about decisions. Should we help this person or rob them blind? You might vote one way, your friend votes another, and the game lets you rock, paper, scissors to decide. It's chaotic, it's hilarious, and it makes every playthrough different. Sure, the beginning is slow and the game doesn't explain much, but once it clicks, you're in for one of the deepest RPGs on PlayStation. No shortcuts, no cash grabs, just pure tactical goodness that makes you think. Disco Elysium is weird, like really weird. You play as a detective who woke up with complete amnesia, destroyed his hotel room, and apparently had the worst 3-day bender in human history. Your job? Solve a murder while figuring out who you even are. Oh, and your own brain argues with itself constantly. This game has no combat. Zero. You can literally die from trying to pick up your necktie because your heart is that weak. Instead, everything is about conversations and dice rolls. Your skills, things like logic, empathy, or a physical instrument, are actually voices in your head that comment on everything. Your ancient reptilian brain might tell you to punch someone. Your electrochemistry begs for drugs. Your inland empire makes you say cryptic nonsense. It's like having a committee in your skull that can't agree on anything. The writing is incredible. Dark, funny, sad, and philosophical all at once. You can be a communist, a fascist, a disco superstar, or a moralist. The game lets you roleplay however you want and actually commits to it. Some dialogue options are completely unhinged, and that's the point. Fair warning, this is basically a visual novel with stats. If you need action, look elsewhere, but if you want something that treats you like an adult and isn't afraid to get uncomfortable, Disco Elysium is essential. Just maybe don't try to be like your character. Wasteland 3 drops your squad of desert rangers in frozen Colorado after a nuclear apocalypse, and your first mission goes sideways immediately. Your convoy gets ambushed, most of your team dies, and now you have to survive in a winter wasteland run by a crazy patriarch and his psycho kids. Fun times. This is old-school tactical RPG combat. You position your squad, use cover, and think before shooting. But here's what's cool. The game gives you multiple ways to solve problems. Need to get past some guards? Shoot them, sneak around them, hack a robot to fight them, or just talk your way through. Your squad members have their own opinions too, and they might hate your decisions enough to leave or even turn on you. The story branches constantly based on your choices. Save one settlement, another gets destroyed. Make a deal with slavers, your reputation tanks. Help the wrong person, and someone you care about dies. The game doesn't pull punches. Consequences are real and sometimes brutal. You can even bring a friend along for co-op and argue about every decision together. Combat can be tough, especially early on. The interface is clunky, and some bugs still pop up. But if you want a mature RPG that treats you like an adult and doesn't baby you with quest markers and simple morality, Wasteland 3 delivers a proper post-apocalyptic experience. Okay, let's talk about Diablo Die 4. The good news? The core gameplay is fantastic. You pick your class, barbarian, sorcerer, necromancer, whatever, and you run around absolutely destroying demons while watching your numbers get bigger. The combat feels crunchy and satisfying. Smashing through hordes of monsters never gets old, and the dark, gothic atmosphere actually feels dangerous for once. The bad news? Blizzard couldn't help themselves. This game launched as a full-price title and then immediately hit you with a battle pass, an in-game shop selling cosmetics for $20 a pop, and seasonal content that resets your progress. You can't just buy the game and be done. They want you grinding forever and spending money in their store. It's frustrating because the game underneath all that monetization garbage is genuinely good. The open world is massive, but also kind of empty. You'll ride your horse across huge zones fighting the same enemy camps over and over. Dungeons are repetitive. And if you want the best gear, hope you like grinding the same content hundreds of times. The story campaign is actually decent though, darker and more focused than Diablo 3's cartoon nonsense. Here's my take. If you just want to play through the campaign with friends and move on, Diablo 4 is worth it. But if they expect you to treat this like a live service forever game, pass. They're charging premium prices and still acting like a free-to-play game. Hades is what happens when a developer actually cares about making a roguelike that doesn't hate you. You play as Zagreus, son of Hades, and you're trying to escape the underworld because your dad is the worst. Every run, you fight through randomly generated rooms, collect power-ups, and eventually die. Then you wake up back home, talk to everyone, and try again. And again. And again. But here's why it works. Dying isn't punishment, it's progress. Every death gives you currency to unlock permanent upgrades and advance the story. The gods of Olympus give you powers each run. Zeus throws lightning, Athena gives you shields. Dionysus makes enemies drunk. Every combination feels different, so no two runs are identical. The combat is fast and responsive. Dash, strike, use your special, and don't stop moving or you're dead. It's challenging but fair. When you die, it's your fault, not the game cheating. And the voice acting? Every character is fully voiced and actually interesting. Your dad is a jerk, your stepmom is surprisingly cool, and the romance options are, let's just say, the game doesn't judge. Supergiant Games made this for $30 with no DLC, no microtransactions, no battle pass nonsense. Just a complete package that keeps you coming back because it's actually fun, not because of FOMO manipulation. This is how you make a roguelike that people actually finish. Path of Exile 2 is for people who think Diablo is too simple and too expensive. This is a free-to-play action RPG that's more complex than filing your taxes, and I mean that as a compliment. You pick one of 6 classes, start killing monsters, and within an hour you're drowning in skill gems, passive tree nodes, and crafting mechanics that require a PhD to understand. The skill system is insane. Instead of locked abilities, you socket gems into your gear that give you powers. Want to shoot fireballs that chain between enemies and explode on impact? Combine the right gems. Prefer summoning an army of zombies? Different gems. The passive skill tree has literally hundreds of nodes. It looks like a subway map designed by someone having a breakdown. Combat is smoother than the first game, more like Diablo 4, but with actual depth. Dodge rolls matter now. Boss fights require you to learn patterns instead of just face-tanking everything. And the campaign is actually good. Dark, brutal, and doesn't waste your time with filler. Best part? The monetization is fair. You can play the entire game free. The only things that cost money are cosmetics and extra storage tabs, and you don't need them. Grinding gear games respects your wallet, which is more than I can say for most free games. Yeah, it's complicated. Yeah, you'll need to watch guides, but if you want depth and aren't afraid to learn, this beats most paid ARPGs. The Ascent is a cyberpunk twin-stick shooter that looks absolutely gorgeous and feels pretty good to play. But let me warn you, it's rough around the edges. You're a worker in a massive corporate-run city, and when your company suddenly collapses, everything goes to hell. Gangs are fighting, security systems are haywire, and you're stuck shooting your way through it all. The world design is incredible. This is the most believable cyberpunk city in any game. Neon everywhere, rain-soaked streets, towering buildings, and little environmental details that make it feel alive. You can see multiple levels of the city vertically, and it's genuinely impressive on PS5. The combat is solid too. You can aim high or low, use cover, and upgrade your weapons with mods. But here's the problem. The game is buggy. Quests break. Co-op has issues. Enemy balancing is all over the place. One fight is easy, the next is impossibly hard with no warning. The story is confusing and honestly kind of boring. You're running errands for people you don't care about in a plot that never really goes anywhere interesting. Still, if you can grab it on sale and just want to run around a gorgeous cyberpunk world shooting things with a friend, The Ascent scratches that itch. Just don't expect polish or a story that matters. It's a solid 7 out of 10 indie game that looks like a 9 but plays like a 6. Your mileage will vary. Unicorn Overlord is Vanillaware making a tactical RPG, and honestly, they knocked it out of the park. You're leading a rebellion to take back your kingdom from an evil empire, and you do it by commanding squads of units across beautiful hand-drawn battlefields. Think Fire Emblem meets real-time strategy, except way prettier. The art style is gorgeous. Everything looks like a painting in motion. Your units are detailed, the environments are stunning, and the character designs are classic Vanillaware fantasy. But this isn't just a pretty game, the tactics actually matter. You form squads of up to 5 units, position them on the map, and they fight automatically using tactics you set beforehand. It's like programming your team's AI to be smart instead of fighting every battle manually. The depth is real. You can recruit over 60 characters, each with unique classes and abilities. Mix and match to create squads that synergize. Pair a tank with healers and damage dealers. Flank enemies. Use terrain. Manage your resources between battles. It's not as hardcore as some strategy games, but it's way deeper than it looks. My only complaint? The story is standard fantasy rebellion stuff. Evil empire bad, resistance good, save the kingdom. But when the gameplay is this solid and there's zero monetization nonsense, just a complete game with tons of content, I'm not complaining much. If you like strategy RPGs, this is essential. Tactics. Ogre Reborn is a remake of a 20-year-old tactical RPG, and guess what? It's still better than most modern strategy games. This is old school, brutal, chess-like combat where positioning matters more than level grinding, and the story doesn't baby you with simple good versus evil nonsense. The plot is dark. You're caught in a civil war between 3 factions, and the game forces you to make horrible decisions. Massacre civilians to prove loyalty? Let innocents die to maintain your morals? Whatever you choose, people will hate you for it. The story branches based on your choices, and there's no correct path. Just consequences you have to live with. Combat is pure tactics. Height advantage matters. Elemental weaknesses matter. Unit positioning and class composition decide battles. Not just having bigger numbers. You can't just grind to victory, you have to actually think. Boss fights will wreck you if you're not prepared. And permadeath is optional but encouraged, because losing a veteran unit you've trained for hours actually hurts. The remaster cleaned up the visuals and quality of life features without dumbing anything down. New voice acting, orchestrated music, and faster combat animations make it more playable without losing what made it special. This is a 30-hour minimum commitment that demands your attention and respect. If you want a strategy game that treats you like an adult and doesn't hold back, Tactics Ogre. Reborn is mandatory. Tunic looks like a cute Zelda clone with a fox protagonist, and then it proceeds to mess with your head in the best way possible. You wash up on a beach with no explanation, no tutorial, no hand-holding. Just you, a stick, and a world full of things trying to kill you. The game is designed like old-school adventures where you had to figure everything out yourself. Here's the genius part. As you explore, you find pages of an instruction manual, like an actual game manual from the 90s, except it's written in a language you can't read. You have to decipher symbols, connect clues, and piece together how the game works. Some pages show you secret paths, others hint at hidden mechanics. It's like archaeology, except for video game secrets. The combat is tough but fair. Dodge, block, and hit enemies when they're open. You'll die a lot at first, but you learn patterns. Boss fights are challenging without being cheap. And the world design is brilliant. Everything connects in ways that make you feel smart when you figure out shortcuts. But the real magic is the secrets. This game has layers upon layers of hidden puzzles that most players will never find. Some require taking notes in real life. Others need you to think completely outside the box. It respects your intelligence and rewards curiosity instead of just following waypoints. For $25, Tunic gives you a complete adventure with no DLC, no microtransactions, just pure game. If you liked old Zelda games and want something that challenges your brain, this is it. Death's Door puts you in the role of a crow who works for death as a soul collector. Literally. You go to work, get assigned a soul to reap, and then everything goes wrong when someone steals your target. Now you're tracking down a thief through multiple dimensions while fighting giant monsters and uncovering why immortality is actually a curse. The combat is simple but satisfying. Light attacks, heavy attacks, dodge rolling, and ranged magic. Think a simpler Dark Souls where timing matters but you're not getting destroyed every 5 seconds. Boss fights are creative and test your skills without being frustrating. You'll die, but you'll learn from it instead of throwing your controller. The art style is beautiful in a grim, storybook way. Everything has this melancholy tone. You're literally working for death, so yeah, it's not exactly cheerful. But the writing has humor too. Your boss is tired of his job. Your coworkers complain about overtime. Death's bureaucracy is somehow relatable, and that's weirdly charming. Exploration rewards you with upgrades and secrets. Find hidden doors, solve environmental puzzles, and unlock shortcuts that connect the world in satisfying ways. It's about 12 hours long, which is perfect. No padding, no filler, just a tight experience from start to finish. Acid Nerve made this for $20 with no monetization garbage. It's just a complete, polished game that knows what it wants to be. If you want something challenging but fair with actual style, Death's Door delivers. Weird West is exactly what it sounds like. Cowboys, witches, werewolves, and zombies all mashed together in an isometric RPG where your choices actually stick. You play as 5 different characters across one connected story, and decisions you make with one character affect everyone else later. Kill the wrong person early on? They can't help you 20 hours later. Spare someone? They might save your life down the road. The gameplay is part twin-stick shooter, part immersive sim. You can approach situations however you want. Sneak into a bandit camp at night and poison their water. Set up bear traps and lure enemies into them. Just walk in guns blazing. Recruit allies to help you fight. The game gives you tools and says figure it out, which is refreshing when most games treat you like you need instructions for breathing. Combat is messy and chaotic, which fits the setting. You're not some overpowered hero, you're a person with a gun trying not to die. Positioning matters, cover matters. Running away is sometimes the smart choice. Permadeath is optional, but it makes everything more tense when you know your decisions are permanent. The art style won't blow you away, and the controls take time to get used to. Some technical issues pop up, but the ambition is admirable. This is an AA indie game trying to do what most AAA studios won't. It respects your intelligence and doesn't hold your hand. For $30, you get a weird, wonderful Western that commits to its vision. Cult of the Lamb is adorable and disturbing in equal measure. You're a possessed lamb who is sacrificed, brought back by a dark god, and now you're building a cult to free your benefactor. Half the game is running a cult, building structures, recruiting followers, performing rituals, and keeping everyone happy. The other half is roguelike dungeon crawling where you murder heretics and collect resources. The cult management is surprisingly deep. Your followers need food, shelter, and faith. They get sick, they get old, they doubt you. You can sacrifice them for power, marry them, throw festivals, or just work them to death. The game lets you be a benevolent leader or a manipulative monster, and both are equally valid strategies. Watching cute animals worship you while you perform blood sacrifices is darkly hilarious. The combat is simple roguelike stuff. Dodge, attack, use abilities, fight bosses. It's not as deep as Hades, but it's fun enough. Each run gives you resources to improve your cult, so even dying moves you forward. The synergy between managing your cult and going on crusades keeps both sides fresh. My issue? Once you beat it, there's not much reason to keep playing. The endgame is thin, and replayability is limited. But for $25, you get a complete, weird, creative game that isn't afraid to be strange. Massive Monster made something unique here. No season pass, no battle pass, just a finished product. That alone deserves respect. Enter the Gungeon is a bullet hell roguelike about sentient bullets shooting guns at you while you shoot guns that shoot things that aren't bullets, because this game is completely insane. You pick a character, enter a Gungeon, yes, that's what it's called, and try to reach the bottom to find a gun that can kill the past. The plot is nonsense. The gameplay is phenomenal. This is hard. Like, you will die constantly for hours before you get good. Rooms fill with bullets, hundreds of them, and you have to dodge roll through them while shooting back. Boss fights are beautiful patterns of projectiles that will destroy you until you memorize their moves. There's no progression shortcuts. You get better by actually learning, not just grinding stats. The guns are ridiculous. There's a gun that shoots bees, a gun that's a mailbox, a gun made of foam fingers, a gun that fires bouncing bubbles. The game has over 300 weapons, and half of them are jokes that somehow still work. Finding new guns is exciting because they're so weird and creative. The problem? It's brutally punishing and doesn't explain much. You'll spend hours dying before things click. Some unlocks require obscure secrets that you'd never find without looking them up. But if you embrace the challenge and don't mind learning through failure, Enter the Gungeon is one of the best roguelikes ever made. Dodge Roll Games made this for $15 and kept updating it for free for years. No microtransactions, no DLC cash grabs, just pure skill-based chaos. Nex Machina is what happens when the people who made the original arcade shooters come back and show everyone how it's done. This is Housemarque, the Finnish studio that perfected twin-stick shooters, making their love letter to games like Robotron. You're in a neon-soaked future fighting robots across arena after arena, and it's pure arcade chaos. The gameplay is dead simple. Move with one stick, shoot with the other, don't stop moving or you're dead. That's it. But the execution is perfect. Everything is responsive, explosions feel meaty, and chaining together kills for combos is satisfying in a way that's hard to explain. You're not just surviving, you're performing. Each level has hidden humans to rescue and secrets to find, so speedrunners and score chasers have tons to chase. Visually, it's stunning. Voxel-based graphics that explode into particles, neon colors everywhere, and a locked 60 frames per second that never drops. It looks like Tron had a baby with a rave. The soundtrack is electronic and pumping, perfectly matching the intensity. Here's the catch. It's short. You can beat the campaign in under an hour, but that's not the point. This is an arcade game about mastering levels, improving your scores, and chasing leaderboards. Each run teaches you something new, and the difficulty modes will humble you fast. For $20, Housemarque delivered a perfect arcade experience with zero fluff. No microtransactions, no battle pass, no live service nonsense. Just pure skill-based shooting that respects the classics while modernizing everything that matters. If you want arcade action done right, this is mandatory. Crosscode is a fake MMO that's actually a single-player action RPG, and it's way better than it has any right to be. You play as Leah, a player stuck in an MMO called Crossworlds with amnesia and a broken avatar that can barely speak. Your job is to figure out what happened while playing through this MMO's content. Dungeons, raids, quests, and all. The combat is fast and satisfying. You throw energy balls at enemies, dash around attacks, and use combos that require timing and positioning. Boss fights are challenging puzzle battles where you need to figure out mechanics while dodging attacks. It feels like playing a 16-bit action game on steroids with modern polish. The puzzles are hard. Dungeons have environmental puzzles that make you think. Ricochet shots off walls, freeze water, move blocks, and combine mechanics in creative ways. Some puzzles will stump you for 20 minutes, but solving them feels earned. The game doesn't baby you with hints unless you ask for them. The story is genuinely good. It starts as a mystery about why you're stuck in this game, but evolves into something deeper about identity and consciousness. The characters are likable, the humor lands, and the fake MO setting is used cleverly. Other players exist as NPCs. Raid groups have drama, and the game world feels alive. Radical Fish Games spent 7 years making this indie gem, and it shows. 40 hours of content for $20, no DLC required. Everything is included. The pixel art is gorgeous, the soundtrack slaps, and the passion is obvious in every detail. This is what happens when developers care more about making a great game than maximizing profit. Nobody Saves the World is from Drinkbox Studios, the people who made Guacamelee, and they brought that same creative energy to a shape-shifting action RPG. You play as nobody, literally a pale, featureless person with no abilities, and you find a wand that lets you transform into different forms. Start as a rat, unlock a ranger, become a horse, turn into a robot. Eventually, you're mixing and matching abilities from 15 different forms to create ridiculous combinations. The genius is in the progression. Each form has quests. Do damage as a rat, heal allies as a magician, break objects as a bodybuilder. Completing quests levels up that form and unlocks new abilities you can share across all forms. So you can make a zombie that shoots arrows and summons eggs, or a horse that casts fireballs. The build variety is insane, and experimenting is the whole point. Combat starts simple but gets strategic. Different enemies are weak to specific damage types or status effects, so you need to adapt your loadout. Dungeons have modifiers that force you to use forms you might ignore otherwise. It keeps things fresh instead of letting you cheese everything with one overpowered build. The tone is goofy and lighthearted. This is not a serious fantasy epic. The writing is funny, the quests are absurd, and the whole vibe is, what if Zelda was weird and didn't take itself seriously? Co-op makes it even better when you and a friend are running around as a slug and a turtle saving the world. $30, complete game, no microtransactions. Drinkbox made something creative and fun without nickel and diming players. If you want an action RPG that's different and doesn't care about being cool, Nobody Saves the World is a blast. Look, I know that's a lot of games, and honestly, you're not gonna like all of them. Some of you want deep RPGs that take 100 hours. Grab Baldur's Gate 3. Others just want to shoot things and watch explosions. Nex Machina's got you covered. The point is, isometric games aren't one thing anymore. They're tactical RPGs, bullet hells, roguelikes, action games. There's variety here that most people ignore because top-down camera equals outdated. Here's my advice. Pick 2 or 3 from this list that match what you're actually in the mood for. Don't buy everything at once. Don't chase what's popular. Half these games go on sale constantly anyway, so be patient. And if you're still playing some live service game that disrespects your time and wallet, maybe consider why you're doing that to yourself. If you actually made it to the end of this video, drop a comment telling me which game I'm completely wrong about. I guarantee someone's mad I didn't praise their favorite enough. And if this helped you avoid wasting money on something you'd hate, hit that subscribe button. I've got more videos coming that cut through the marketing garbage and tell you what's actually worth playing. Now get out there and play something good for once.